Hey everybody, Joe here with another edition of 360 Comics. Over the weekend, I had some free time and was able to make it out to a couple of different local comic shops in my area. I picked up some great books, and there's one haul in particular that I wanted to share with you. Only a few books, but despite being a smaller haul, it definitely could end up being a pretty big score. And don't forget, if you want to win our 6,000 follower giveaway over on Instagram, you gotta go follow us over there. You can win this copy of Warlock number 12, The Origin Story of Pip the Troll, and I've added a second prize as well, Warlock and the Infinity Watch number 2, the first team appearance of the Infinity Watch, cover appearance as well. Two great Warlock books that definitely have potential in the MCU. I realize I haven't posted this giveaway on Instagram yet, despite mentioning it in a couple videos, so I'm going to definitely make sure I do that today. Go follow there and enter to win. Also, stick around here on YouTube because we're going to be announcing our 1,500 subscriber giveaway very soon. So I am very, very fortunate to live in an area just north of Philadelphia that has comic book shops aplenty. In all honesty, within a half an hour of my house, there's probably at least 10 comic book shops, in addition to some antique and thrift stores, which also occasionally get comics in. So I never have a hard time hunting for comic shops. Now, I have my main LCS that I go to, Brave New Worlds in Willow Grove, where I get my weekly comics. And then I've got ones that I go to pretty often, like Cyborg 1 in Doylestown, as well as Phantasm Comics up in New Hope. But there's lots of other stores that I don't frequent nearly as often. The haul today is from a store that's about 20-25 minutes away. So I go over there every once in a while, and I got some great stuff. Now, generally, their stuff is at or above market. It's pretty hard to find anything there that is a really good deal. But I decided to go spend an hour and a half really digging through their back issues and try to find some stuff that I thought was undervalued that I could either add to my personal collection, keep as a speculation book, or sell in one of my claim sales for a profit. I definitely found some great stuff. I picked out 10 books from that store, so it's a pretty small haul, but I think in the long run, it'll be very worth it, and I'll definitely go into talking about the financial aspect at the end. Definitely stick around for that, and as usual, we'll go in ascending order from the lowest value books to the highest. Let's get started. First up, we've got X Factor number 92, and this is a book that I've spoken about a few times. I find these in dollar bins from time to time, and that's always a great buy. This one was marked at $3, but is a nice high-grade copy, so I figured why not pick it up, add it to the stack that I already have. This features the first appearance of Exodus, who's a very, very powerful character. I believe an Omega level mutant, if I remember correctly, and definitely a character that could be utilized as a big baddie in the MCU. We'll see if that ends up happening or not. It's got one of these 90s hologram covers. It's part of the Fatal Attraction crossover run between the X books that were out at the time. X Factor, X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, and X-Force. And it's got this cool hologram, kind of a gimmick, but either way, it's the first appearance of a character that could be utilized, and it's a pretty inexpensive book. Retail, they go for about $7 or $8 right now. So, usually I'll pay $1 for it, but $3 this time, since it's high grade, might as well grab it. Rewinding from the 90s back to the Bronze Age, we've got the Savage Submariner number 68. Now, this is the first appearance of a character called Force. Not a very well-known character, not one that I necessarily think will be utilized or anything like that, but I have the majority of this Submariner run. This is a book that I did not have, so I figured I'd pick it up. It was only marked at $3 because it is a lower grade copy, maybe around a 4.0, 4.5. But still, I needed it for the run, like I said, and it is a key issue. So $3, why not? This is going to stay in my personal collection. I'm not looking to flip it. It probably has a value of between $5 and $10 in the condition it's in, just because it's part of that Submariner run, and Namor's getting hot right now. We all know this character is eventually going to make it to the MCU. there's plenty of rumors and speculation about the character appearing in Wakanda Forever, but we have not had a confirmation yet about that happening. Honestly, fingers crossed, because I really love the character Namor, and I think they could do some really cool things in the MCU with him and with Atlantis, and just having a different aspect, of mutants, and there we go. There's a connection to mutants as well, which the mutants are coming. We know the mutants are coming. Namor was the first mutant of Marvel. Wasn't confirmed to be a mutant until X-Men issue number 6, though, which was more than 20 years after Namor debuted. So, yeah, definitely something that I think has some potential, but this guy's staying in the personal collection for my Namor run. Also paid $3 for this guy right here. The only DC book in this haul. We've got Superman Man of Steel number 19. Now, this is the second appearance of Doomsday, and it's the second printing variant. During this part of the 90s, they were putting like Roman numerals up in the top corner, right up there, and there's a Roman numeral 2, showing that this is the second printing of the book. Now, a lot of people collect the DC Universe variants of comics, and some of those people also collect these different printings of the books that were coming out around the same time as the DC Universe variants. And a lot of them, the DC Universe variant might be one of the printings. I know the book before this, Doomsday's first appearance, I believe it's the 5th printing, which is the DC Universe variant, and that one is actually the most expensive version of that book, despite it being the 5th printing. The print runs get smaller usually as time goes on, so that can really help boost the price, even though it's not the first printing. Later printings, when there's way more of the second printing, then it's one thing. Those usually end up being much less. But, when there's a smaller print run, it definitely can help the value of the book. Like I said, I picked this up for $3, and, it's high grade. I'm thinking like $10 value. Typically the first printing sells for in the $10 to $12 range. So why not get about 10 for this? Another $3 pickup right here. We've got Marvel Tales 150. Now, for those of you who don't know, Marvel Tales reprints a lot of the early Spider-Man stories, basically stuff that people couldn't get their hands on anymore, was too expensive, but they wanted to read it. So these were the first reprints of the Amazing Spider-Man run, mostly the Silver Age stuff. The Marvel Tales began in the Bronze Age and went into the Copper Age, so it's mostly like the Silver Age reprints. Now, take a look at this cover. See if you recognize it, and if you don't recognize it, imagine if it had a white background instead of that orange to yellow gradient. I'll give you a second. If you didn't recognize it yet, I'll tell you, this is the same cover as Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 1, the first appearance of the Sinister Six. It says it right down there. That is a very expensive book, pretty hard to obtain, but this is the first ever reprint of that book. So if you can't afford Spider-Man Annual number 1, you really got to drop at least $1,000 for a low-grade copy of that. Understandably, if you can't afford it, this is a great way to pick it up. You have a reader copy, you have the same cover even, with just a different background color, and a lot of people pick up these Marvel Tales so they can read the old Spider-Man stuff in comic book form without having to shell out the big bucks or risk damaging their, older copies that are more expensive. Like I said, like with the other couple books, value of about $10, but I paid $3 for it. So that is a nice one to have available in claim sales for people to pick up. This next one's probably going to stick in the personal collection for now. I forget if I have a copy or not. We got Web of Spider-Man number 86, and this is a nice high-grade copy. In fact, I was very surprised with how high-grade it is. It might actually get a 9.8. I'm going to look it over again. I'm not sending stuff in right now. There's too much of a backup at CGC, and I'm moving. I just bought a new house, so things are kind of crazy with me right now. Not sending anything to CGC until I get settled in my new place. But yeah, Web of Spider-Man, 86, the first appearance of Demogoblin, who some people pronounce Demogoblin. I personally say it Demogoblin. You can leave it in the chat and let me know, or rather in the comments, and let me know how you pronounce it. But he's a demon, so Demogoblin makes more sense to me. But hey, it is what it is. The character kind of has some cameo appearances, I want to call it, before this, because he is in the body of Hobgoblin. In this issue, they separate and become two different entities, so it is, in fact, Demogoblin's first appearance, in my opinion. Some people probably will argue that, but, given that he's just in the body of Hobgoblin, I wouldn't consider that to be a new character. I would consider those sort of cameo appearances, and this being the first real appearance. Awesome cover at that. Hobgoblin's one of those villains that anytime he's on a cover, it looks cool. Same thing with Doctor Doom and a lot more. Villains really make covers, in my opinion. Next, we got The Amazing Spider-Man Swing Shift #1. I have posted this a couple times, talked about the importance of this book. This is the director's cut, or the full expanded version, essentially, of the Free Comic Book Day book from 2007, the Amazing Spider-Man Free Comic Book, which has been on my spec list recently. That is the first appearance of Mr. Negative and Jackpot, a double key right there. And this basically reprints that story, in a full comic book size, not one of the free comic book ones. It is the director's cut version, which usually just has a couple extra pages or something like that. And this is less expensive, probably about half the price of the Free Comic Book Day book, which is surprising because the Free Comic Book Day book was given out for free, but it's the first true appearance. That one goes for about $30 to $40. This guy right here, I paid $7 for it, and it sells for roughly $15 in a high grade. I have a bunch of copies, and in addition to the Free Comic Book Day version, so this one I'm probably going to put up in a claim sale because I'm always getting requests for Spider-Man, and so much of that stuff goes into my personal collection. I don't often have that kind of inventory. Next up is the only indie book that I picked up in this haul. We've got Simpsons Comics #4 from Bongo Comics. Now, I know very little about this. I saw the cover, and that is what got me interested, and I looked it up, and it turns out this book in high grade sells for about $20. They had it marked at 8, so it was definitely a good score there, picking this guy up for so cheap. And what really caught my eye and what makes people interested in a book like this is that it has an infinity cover. For those of you who don't know, basically it's this comic book's cover within this comic book's cover, and you can see they're holding this comic, and on that comic is the cover of them holding the comic, and blah, blah, blah. Comicception, basically, or coverception. It's a cover within the cover within the cover, and it just keeps going on forever, hence the name Infinity Cover. These are collectible. I personally think they look really cool, and apparently a bunch of other people do too, because they're something that sells pretty easily. Also, one thing to look out for with this is this book has a baseball card in it. And if it's not there, the book is not complete. If you were to get it graded, it would come back with a green qualified incomplete label. You want to make sure you don't miss out on anything like that. So I actually brought this up to the counter when I was purchasing it. I said, hey, I need to check this first. Make sure the card's in there. Guess what? It was. So it does probably hold the full value of $20. Spent $8 on it. That's a good buy. The next two books, or rather the next three books, were definitely the three best of the day, in my opinion, and the three highest value, and the three with really close MCU connections. I'm going to put these down for a second for you, and pull up this one. This was marked at just $10. I had to do some digging to find it, but we got Werewolf by Night, #1, from 2020. Now, this is the first appearance of Jake Gomez as Werewolf by Night. This character has been cast for the Halloween special. Now, I believe that's coming out on Disney Plus, and I think it was actually supposed to come out last Halloween, 2021, but I think COVID ended up pushing that one back. kind of everything got pushed back with the pandemic, and I think this is one of them. So 2022, we should be seeing this Werewolf by Night Halloween special introducing this character, Jake Gomez, who I believe was the second Werewolf by Night. Obviously, Jack Russell, he was the original from the Bronze Age. I don't know if there were any in between, not that I can think of at least, but we got Jake Gomez here making his debut in comics. And again, this book is only from 2020. It's relatively new. Now, personally, I love horror stuff. The Universal horror movies were some of my favorites as a kid. And Wolfman, who's a werewolf, was always my favorite, Lon Chaney Jr. So this is something I'm very, very excited for the MCU. And I think this book also has quite a bit of potential to climb higher. I only paid $10 for it, but they're selling for about $40 to $50 on eBay right now. So I think I got a great deal. Now, that being said, this is going to be one that I'm kind of deciding on. I really want to keep this, at least for now. So it's not going to go in claim sales or anything, but I got to decide, do I want this for my personal collection because I really like Werewolf by Night and, I see some long-term value with this, especially when the character comes to the MCU, or do I put this in my spec box and possibly sell it around the time of the release of the Halloween special? I'm not really sure. I don't know how attached I'm going to be to this, but this is a nice high-grade copy. I might, in fact, send this out to get graded and hope to get it back by Halloween. But that is kind of risky. It's already January. We only have about 10 months until 9 months. 9 months from now, we'll be seeing Werewolf by Night on Disney+. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but, I'm holding on to it for now. That is for sure. All right, this next one you saw in the beginning of the video. We've got Namor, the Submariner, 13. Now, this one has some heavy ties to the MCU. Not only that, but it is a Silver Age key issue. This is an old book. I paid $22 for this one. It's the first appearance of Gargantos. Now, I believe it's the only appearance of Gargantos, if I remember correctly. Jim from Bronzeville recently did a video about Gargantos and Shumagarath, who I'll get into that in just a second, but check out his video if you want to learn more about this character. Anyway, Silver Age book. We know from the Lego set that Gargantos will be the name used for the giant octopus tentacle, one-eyed villain in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Now, that character looks more like Shumagarath, who is a character that first appeared in Strange Tales. I forget the number, but it looks like they're using that character's visuals, physicality, what that character looks like with the name Gargantos. There's some speculation online that Marvel may not own the rights to the name Shumagarath because it was a character that dated back to, I believe, the early 1900s, the same writer that wrote Conan the Barbarian. And what they think is, the speculators think that maybe Marvel does not have the rights to that name anymore. That may be the case, or they may have just decided to, as they've done many times, infuse two characters from the comic books to make them one hybrid character for the MCU. It could be either one, and I think we're going to have to wait and see. But definitely the Lego set does use the name Gargantos, despite the character looking more like Shumagarath. Now, the Shumagarath key issue is worth significantly more than this Submariner issue. Will that change over time due to the name being used in the MCU? Maybe, maybe not. Either way, this is just a great key to hold on to see what's going on. I actually have a higher grade copy of this already, so this one is probably going to be for sale, especially now that people are getting hyped up for that new Doctor Strange movie. Remember, I said I spent about $22 on it. In the condition that it's in, the mid-grade condition, it's probably worth about $50, so this was definitely a great pickup. Now we're on to the last book, and I was very surprised to see this for the price that it was, and I almost missed it too, because this book was not out in the back issues. It was on the wall. It was actually not even on the wall behind the counter. It was in a stack of books, and it was sticking out about this much. All I could see was Iron Man. Now, I'm lucky because I have this book already, and I could see Iron Man sticking out. This side of the book was sticking out, and I knew what it was. I couldn't even see the 54 at first, but I said, "Hey, is that Iron Man 54? And he pulled it out. He said, "Yep." And I said, "How much is it?" He said $35, and I said, "Throw it in my pile." Now, for those of you who don't know, this is the first appearance of Moondragon, who is the daughter of Drax the Destroyer. That being said, there is a lot of MCU speculation about this character, especially because we've got a Guardians movie that's coming, hopefully, within the next few years. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We know they've cast Warlock already. We know they've started filming already, so time will only tell who else is going to show up. Possibly this character, but, definitely a character that could be expanded on, given the multiverse situation, all that stuff. Either way, we got an early Bronze Age Invincible Iron Man key issue. This one, in this condition, I've seen it kind of sell all over the place, anywhere as low as $60 for ones that are in lower grade than this, but also all the way up to like $150 for ones that are slightly higher grade than this. So I'm going to kind of put this one in the middle, say it's about $100. I have a couple copies of this book already. I was picking them up for cheap before they shot up in value, and I've got a detached cover one as well, but this one is probably the nicest one that I have. Like I said, about $100 value, and I only paid $35 for it. So let's talk about the financials of this comic book haul. It was only 10 books, so it's pretty easy to do. We're going to talk about what I paid. We're going to talk about what it's worth, market value, and what I realistically think I can get for it in a short amount of time. Despite some of the books staying in my personal collection, I am going to include them in the values and everything, just so we can kind of get a picture of what's going on here. Starting with what I paid. If you've been counting up along the way, you would know that this total haul of 10 books came out to $103, just over $10 a book on average. Definitely was a great price, especially given that all of these have a value higher than I paid for it. In fact, I tallied up the total values that I gave you along the way, and the optimistic market value of this haul is about $270, significantly more than the $103 I paid for it. In fact, about triple, a little bit less than triple, not quite getting there, but definitely well over double. Now, obviously, I say this all the time, you can't sell everything for top dollar. Some stuff sits for a while. Some stuff you might get bundled together by one buyer, and you knock a couple bucks off here and there, stuff like that. And prices also go down sometimes. Maybe I won't be able to sell some of this in a couple months for what it's worth today. That's all good. Some stuff might go up though, but either way, I think a realistic evaluation of what I could get for all this stuff is definitely north of $200. So that it means I'm at least doubling my money there. Even if I just sold it for $200, that'd be a nice little double up. But honestly, I think this really could go for more like $220, $230, given, putting some time and effort into it, putting it up in claim sales, maybe at a convention or something like that. Either way, I'm stoked about these books. Like I said, some are staying in the personal collection, some are sticking around as spec books, and some will be available for sale pretty much right away. That's the kind of haul that I love. It ticks off all 3 boxes right there, and gives me some good reading material as well if I ever want to check out any of these books in the meantime. So thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. Definitely make sure you hit that thumbs up for a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. You're not going to want to miss that 1,500 subscriber giveaway that's being announced soon. I'm still picking a prize for it, and it's going to be a good one. Promise that. Anyway, head on over to Instagram and enter our giveaway there. And until next time, turn the page, wash your hands.